Dear church family, this month is a mental health awareness month. And this year especially, we find ourselves in the middle of a global crisis.
The number of coronavirus cases worldwide has now reached 40 million. In the U.S., new cases are the highest they've been since the summer.
An internal health and human services memo obtained by ABC News says 44 states and territories are now reporting an increase in cases. In Florida, where more than 16,000 people have already died from the virus, new daily cases have doubled in just 1 week. And with cases on the rise as we head into the winter months, many of us will be forced to spend more time indoors. Some experts are saying the next 6 to 12 weeks are going to be the darkest we have seen yet. So how can people effectively conquer this pandemic winter? I'm joined now by psychologist Dr. Sanam Hafiz and ABC News contributor Dr. John Brownstein. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Dr. Brownstein, we know that this virus is highly transmissible indoors. As we get ready for the holidays, people want to gather with family and friends. Is it possible to do that safely inside? What's your advice?
Yeah. Clearly from the beginning of this pandemic, we've been very worried about large indoor gatherings. And we've seen these issues, after every major holiday where people get together inside, that's when virus spreads. So, what can we do to have a safe Thanksgiving? Well, we got to prepare. If you really must, spend time with your family, then quarantining for a couple weeks ahead will make sense, because that way you can guarantee that you're not bringing the infection home. Obviously, limiting the numbers of people that are gathering is super important. Mask wearing, social distancing, all the things that we've been talking about. And then on top of that, ventilation. Do you have good air filtration in the home? Can you open the windows to let circulating air? All those things will serve to reduce risk around virus transmission. But of course, the safest way is to celebrate virtually if you can.
Well, and Dr. Hafiz, on that note, we know that isolation makes you safest from the virus, but it also makes you more vulnerable to mental health issues. A recent study revealed that depression rates have tripled during the pandemic. So how do we cope with these feelings, especially as it gets colder, as it gets darker, and we lose the ability to socialize outside?
It's a really good question. I mean, the study is very telling that 1 out of 4 Americans are now experiencing and reporting symptoms of depression, which is a really high number if you think about that. It jumped from 8% before the pandemic to about 28% now. So this isolation, this ongoing pandemic is definitely taking a toll on mental health. So there are ways to do it. As the doctor just said, if you can do it indoors and very safely, obviously, that's an option, now that our backyards are not going to be as usable and we can't just go have picnics in the park. I mean, in New York, especially, the winter months are, they can be brutal. There are ways around it. You can set, Zoom calls with your family and friends. You can have, instead of saying, let's catch up, actually put something on your calendar. One of the things that I tell people who are lonely or really missing their family and friends, I talk about maybe adopting a pet, having someone else to care for, to look forward to, having that unconditional love. The fact that depression is so high, I don't think you necessarily need to feel like you have to have a reason to seek out a therapist. Therapists are available doing virtual calls more than they ever have been before. So take advantage of that. And one of the things that we talk about is seasonal depression. It's a real thing. And so something like light therapy, just getting a lamp, or even one of the things that I've been thinking about is if you're working from home, maybe you can ask your boss or your supervisor or whoever you work for a later start date. So you have maybe an hour or two in the morning to maybe go for that jog or a walk and just get some vitamin D.
The theme for this year's Mental Health Awareness Month is Kindness Matters. And for that reason, I would like to encourage you to do some simple act of kindness to our neighbors, our workers, our classmates, and even people that we do not necessarily know.